morning, everybody.
Hi.
We are back here. Today we are just going to kind of walk through the basics of my cut.
Yes.
And how Kristen has been kind of changing up, especially the back, because I know a lot of you have had a lot of questions. We'll also go over the exact kind of length that she leaves it.
Yeah.
And texture and all that.
So I have a lot of people, it kind of makes me, it's funny, I'll get clients come in and they'll show me their frontal pictures. And then there's some people who really care about the back. Now, Shirley hasn't been that way as much as, because we've technically always pretty much kept her more flippy.
Yeah.
But doing this a little bit more on the laid down but still textured type look, it is going to change what you're going to get. I have been going through, so we have not cut her hair today, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, no,
she's a great styler.
You know,
I think she's better than me personally. So
we could be a good team.
Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to show what she's looking like before, and as you can see here, she's probably like, I mean, if we want to go real lengthy, it's probably inch and a half on the length right now. When I trim her today, I will be just taking off about a half inch or so. She is liking more of the cleaner cut. In the past, we've left her longer where she flips it up and it gets even flippier. I'm a little sensitive because it can get too flippy, and then it's, remember that hairstyle? Mm-hmm. So right now we're going a bit on the shorter side with all of that, and I mean, right now this is kind of more of her trim time. We tend to cut one time, and this is more of the trim. So other than keeping the texture in there, and right through here, I always make sure that just a natural head shape, obviously, if a hairdresser is watching, and cares to know, I don't know if you do, but obviously I like to always keep on female cuts are always important shortcuts to keep them like more feminine, I feel, rather than like a male haircut. So there for them, that's good. But I feel like I like to keep more of a shape here. This here, I don't like to go too short. You actually don't feel too long here. So I think that today might be just a minute trim. How long is that? I typically always kind of give her, like I tell them, like this little headband part. And that's where I kind of cut it all around the same length, which is probably, as well, I think right now you're pretty proportionate. And mostly you're like, I would say 1.5 inches to 2 on the higher part. Your length is a little higher there. But I think the biggest thing is like, even if her length might be left a little too long, I do a lot of point cutting. Yeah. As well as sometimes I have some chunky texturizing shears that like I'll take out in areas like on the top for that, because she can really, do a good job with texturizing that. So that's what we're gonna do anyways. Okay, so this little corner here is where I kind of like judge it by like, okay, so right now she's not wanting to be as flippy. So as you can tell, I can very much grasp and have like an inch, almost an inch from touching her hair there. I kind of look and see like how flippy she is. Well, we're not trying to be real flippy. We want it to be flippy if she wants it to be, but we're going for a little more of a smoother look this time. So I am going to, by that little flippy, like I said, I think about a 1/2 inch is good. I use this little handy dandy razor. It's my best friend, as I call it, in the hairdressing world. So I just take out that little length there, and I kind of, as you may be able to tell there, it's like it's kind of hard to see, I know, but maybe around the hairline we can do better. But again, about a 1/2 inch, and the total length that she probably is left is, I don't want to go like, oh, it's only a 1/2 inch, because that's pretty short. I would rather be safer and say it's still probably about 1 inch from their hairline, but it's textured, so it's laying softer, and it kind of can appear a bit shorter because it's not heavier that way. It's funny, going back after your work, you can always feel like where it's a little actually heavier from the previous haircut, actually. Yeah. So. Check my work,
Right, exactly. You say, oh, hey, you left that a little thick.
And I, as well, going up here to like the ear, I still keep this texture. Again, I like the fact that there's a section here behind the ear that a lot of times can end up kind of bulky in many haircuts. Whether you have a bob, it's always a common problem spot. So I like to just keep it nice and, again, textury, because of the fact that it will lay lighter, and you will, odds are, not have that problem. I even sometimes go through there and even do, I haven't trimmed, but, do a little extra texturing just to give it a little bit of that lighter appearance there. So today, we are going to go just a tad shorter about the hairline here, or sorry, the ear. Shirley mentioned she would be okay going a little shorter. I just like haircuts to kind of look a little like proportionate, you know? So right now her length over the ear is about, actually it points about 1.5 inches to, it's probably about 1.5 inches is safe. So I'm gonna probably take this more to like 1 inch trim, 3/4 of a trim rather than just a 1/2 inch trim. Just because we're gonna go a little shorter. I like to use the, some people don't love the razor, as far as the person wearing the haircut or hairdressers. I like the razor for a lot more of like the detail work.
Yeah, around the edge.
And then I tend to use more scissors throughout, and then I might use the razor a little bit when it gets time to certain areas, but other than that, I kind of mix it all up, you know? So where I'm going to start here in the back now. Same thing, I do just a nice angle. It's probably like a 45-degree angle. If you're a hairdresser, you kind of can understand that lingo. And then as I work up, I tend to go more to a 90-degree. So again, about a 1/2 inch trim through the bottom. You know, my fingers are probably in the way, and this may not be visually helping much, but
You're explaining it well.
okay, I hope. I try. This is actually good testing for me because it kind of tests my terminology on what's really going on here.
What's happening?
And I typically will always kind of cross-check that and just kind of, as I'm going, I like to kind of, again, kind of point cut through there to get some of that bulk gone away. And I'm always like, I hardly ever will cut just straight with the blade. I'm always point cutting. It's just kind of my own thing.
Makes a big difference.
It does. It gets really heavy with the block, or like with the just no point cutting.
And that's, I've had a few people say that's what they've ended up with. It won't lay flat, it won't flip, it won't do anything. And
or if it works, they may have had it the right length, but it will only work for a short amount of time because of the fact that it is heavy. So if they, depending on hair type and texture and all that, then that will cause a potential issue, you know.
Later on, it doesn't last, the longevity of it, of the style.
Yeah, so we're consistently taking off about a 1/2 inch throughout. And as I go through, I kind of always will like kind of play with it just to make sure it's looking how it should, as well as we don't want to see any long parts.
Yes.
And then my little headband area here, it's kind of the easiest way. It's definitely not technical, but it's the way people can understand. So from ear to ear.
I get that question often. Where do the spikes start?
Right. So here's our little area. It can even be a little bit more here to be very symmetrical here. You know, I do think that like the working clean thing is a lot, whether you're coloring or cutting, but it gets a little tricky with short hair, but that's why you want to work with pretty wet hair, not having it get dry on you. You can do dry cutting afterwards, but so as you can see there, she's again got about that very consistent 1/2 inch mark right there. And then so what I tend to do is I'll cut that top, the length, 1/2 inch, and as well as I'm working, I'll pick up generally the same section. And that's when, for me, I like to go a little deeper on point cutting and just really get in there. I have Band-Aids on hand. People ask me, don't you cut your finger? Yes, I do. So
Not
it happens.
often, but
No, it happens.
those points.
I say it's an occupational hazard.
It is, yes.
Okay. So this is where, so in this little spot, this is kind of where it gets a little tricky. That's why the whole headband thing is a good idea, to keep yourself organized a little bit like that. And then when you start to take your next section, that's when, okay, so I'll take her up and kind of see. We've already trimmed the length around her ear, so that's not too much to be trimmed. But we don't want her, I don't want her to be as short through her layering on the side usually. And through the front, we usually keep her a little bit longer. So this is when this is kind of technical, this is when I start pulling it back just a little bit we call it over directing, just to leave a little bit more length. So that's when you'll see like there's a wild one that needs a little more trimming, but you still don't want to leave it, again, like too much different, but you can see here. So you can see some of those little long ones there. That's where I'm starting to transition that little change there. So I'll start to pull. So this is like where we're long. So again, headband part and like right in front of it. And that starts to get, now we're like an inch difference from that back to that front. So, but considering we're just trimming you like a half inch, then I just pull it back to where that shorter section is. And I just kind of marry them together, and it gives an equal proportion on that kind of marriage between the back spiky potentially to the front smoother looking. But it's not too much of a difference.
Yeah, I like it to kind of blend, not have too much of a jump off there.
Yeah. And a lot of times I'll go through and I'll kind of just like feel the hair, because I can feel where it's like, okay, that's a little thick. And that is a big part on your whole texture, keeping your texture right. So same thing, I'm just kind of pulling that center back. And then what I kind of do is I kind of move that, we call it a little guideline, towards the front. I am going to do a little bit of her front so I can make sure we're all marrying these two together. Now, Sharalee, you said you were not too terribly long here, right?
You could probably take a decent trim.
Maybe a little more than normal. And you're still enjoying having that little bit of that length in the front, right?
Yeah, yes.
Some people, everybody varies a lot on this front area.
Yeah.
I have some people that want it really short. It's a little bit of a harder look, so if you're kind of pondering, should I go that short or not?
Okay.
I would suggest leaving it longer. You might feel a little naked if you go too short around that corner there.
Yeah.
Leave it longer, texturize it first, and then cut it off if you decide. Because obviously
That's true.
You'll either be
paste it back
throwing
on.
it out or, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll probably point cut all of this first, and then around her hairline, I again do like to kind of bring in that razor and make sure she's all texturized and proportionately to like evenly. Because the sides can be a little bit lighter. Otherwise, if the sides are not lighter weight, they will get a little bulky.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of show you this. So this is where we have trimmed, and this is where we have not. You can see it's a very slight graduation, probably like this. So really, this time it's been a pretty consistent half-inch trim everywhere. And then, again, still point cutting. Sharalee doesn't like to get too thin towards the front. We do leave her a little heavier. So I will point cut, but I don't typically do a ton of texturizing, maybe like in an area, which is maybe by her like part line, just to keep that nice lightweight, or maybe in her temple area where sometimes that can get a little bit heavy right through there.
Yeah, cowlicks, and that's part of the reason for me personally, my front cowlick plays into that. So if it's too thin, my cowlick doesn't cooperate.
It's trying to be it's misbehaving.
It's
then.
misbehaving, yes.
Okay, so just so you can kind of get an even idea, I mean, I haven't done totally like her sides, but as you can see, she still has this length here. She's not spiky all the way to the front. This is where it's spiky, and if it's sticking up by itself, without product and being wet, that's a good sign.
That's a good sign, yeah.
You're probably either A, short enough if this is a brand new haircut for you, or it's a good length for your existing haircut. Because the product's just made to enhance what's already there, so.
That's right. Enhance is a good cut.
Right. But you shouldn't have to make it do that every time either.
That's true. That's true.
I think that can be a misconception a little bit. And I just kind of pull it back. And then right here, I'll kind of take a little chunky action through it. And sometimes you do customize according to what a customer may want, you know. If, for example, if they say Shirley does part a lot on this side, although she will switch it up. Sometimes people like this a little shorter. Then you know that's an area where you just either go shorter and you just pull all that up to it. It's just a little variation. Because everybody's hair, you know, you may love Shirley's hair, but you know your hair may not do it well, or whatever it may be, or you want it a little different.
Just a different preference.
Yeah.
And we've changed up mine many times as well. Just little bits here and there. Go shorter there, longer there, thicker there. So it is amazing what the difference a half an inch can make.
Yeah. She makes it look easy, by the way. She comes in styling, she puts me to shame, so it's okay. I'll just do the work of the cutting.
I have more practice with my hair, so you know.
That's true. Okay, a lot of times too, so even though I'm leaving her a little longer through the front, if I pull this up here, it's kind of like a pie shaped here. This is more for if a hairdresser's watching, but I kind of like to cut into it a little bit more. Again, lightening it up, not taking away too much length, but just to kind of lighten that area up and keep it feminine. I think that's a big part on short haircuts for females, I think.
Yes. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. Shirley actually, she has a lot of sightings in our little kind of small town where we live. So she was actually maybe going to be gone, and I did move her appointment. She was so nice to move, by the way. Try not to do that, but she had a sighting from a new customer. So someone said they had seen her in town and they had seen her hair and they liked it and blah blah blah. So actually, that's how I knew she was home.
Uh-oh, busted. See?
I'm always watching. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. You never know. That's what they say. Living in a small town.
I know.
Never. Gotta be careful what you're doing.
Right.
Somebody will know. And with my hairdo.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Spot me in a minute.
Yeah. It was funny. Okay, so after I'm done, it's feeling pretty well there. I'll always kind of push my fingers through it and kind of just pull out, because I can always find where she's a bit long or thick. That's another thing. And I think I'm gonna take a normal thinning shear just for the longevity of the haircut, and just kind of do a couple little chops here. Kind of just take a quick way of kind of getting some of that bulk out. This time being her trim time rather than her more cut. When I say trim and cut, it's probably 1/4 of a difference really, but you can tell usually next time she'll come in a little longer. But I've noticed that on the trim time, we kind of have to really we do have to make sure we texturize her enough, because if we don't, by the time she comes in next time, she might feel
Really thick and long and bulky.
yeah, and full, like she's got a helmet.
Yeah.
We don't want any helmet
I
hair.
don't want helmet hair. The other, like, 80s.
Oh, right.
80s do.
It happens. It definitely happens.
It does.
And again, I'll just kind of go through and do a little razoring here. Feeling good. Cool. Clean up her hairline.
Oh, yeah.
So she is short enough to where I always clean. I just kind of push this up. All the natural hairline here. You can see when you put it down, you can see that natural fall. Okay, so I too always enjoy the same product as, yeah. Is this a favorite? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Actually, I need to order
get some more too.
more.
Yeah, I was gonna say I need to have you order some more.
Okay, this stuff's tricky. I know that she's done a good little, I think a tutorial showing you how warming it up is like the key in your hands. Starting with less and then working it more is better. And then the thing is just really putting it everywhere. She's dry, she's totally dry as far as that goes, so.
I told her to have some fun styling it today, so
Let's see what we can come up
crazy.
with. Right?
Yeah.
She might leave here being like, that was horrible. Why did I do that? No, I just kidding.
But see, I can remold it.
This
and
is
it's
true.
No problem.
She could hit it with a blow dryer on the way
Yeah,
home.
exactly.
Yeah, if it were hot outside like California normally is, we could just try it.
Right, summertime, just walk out in the sun for a few minutes and remold.
Yeah, exactly. She could sit in the sun for a few.
Right, it's true.
I do like it shorter because you can still totally use it.
Yes.
See, some people like it really textury where you just see all these different. Some people hate that, so it's kind of a preference. But I think I'm going to leave her a little more textury because she tends to smooth it out. I think a little bit. But that will give you a little bit of a different.
It's a different look.
Yeah. And if you want this a little more defined, you can kind of piece this here. Right. She kind of looks like a shark. We don't look like no sharks. All right, Alrighty. We're good. It's the nice part about short hair is it looks amazing in minutes.
Right.
Amazing in
exactly.
minutes.
Amazing in minutes. Hey,
Right.
that could be a TV show.
Right, I know.
Commercial. Amazing in minutes. Your
All right.
hair, amazing in minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is amazing. All right, guys, here we are.
We're
all
time to
styled
go.
up, so time to go. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. Thanks for watching.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.